There's a moment that happens sometimes in the late evening, when the house gets quiet. Maybe you've just finished washing the last dish, or you've turned off the television, and suddenly the silence feels heavier than it did a few hours ago. And in that stillness, something rises up in your chest. Not quite sadness, not quite loneliness, but something closer to a question you've been carrying for longer than you'd like to admit. You find yourself wondering if anyone out there is thinking about you the way you think about someone who doesn't exist yet. If there's a person somewhere in this same city, maybe just a few neighborhoods away, who also sits in their own quiet rooms wondering the same thing. I want you to know that wondering is not weakness. That ache you feel is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that something is alive in you. The desire for companionship, for someone who sees you and stays, that desire was placed inside you by the same God who looked at Adam in the garden and said it is not good for man to be alone. You were not designed for permanent isolation. And the fact that you feel this longing so deeply is evidence that you were made for connection, not proof that you're somehow broken or unworthy of it. I've talked to so many people over the years who carry a quiet shame about wanting love. They've been told that they should be content with God alone, that desiring a partner means their faith isn't strong enough, that they're somehow less spiritual for wishing they had someone to share their life with. But I want to gently push back against that thinking, because the same God who is enough, the same God who fills every void and satisfies every hunger, is also the God who created marriage. He invented partnership. He designed human beings to walk through life alongside each other. It's an extension of how He made you. So if you've been carrying guilt about your loneliness, I want you to let that go tonight. You don't have to apologize for wanting what God Himself called good. Now, I want to talk to you about something that might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but I think it's important. There's a difference between waiting and hiding. Some of us have convinced ourselves that we're being patient, that we're trusting God's timing, when really we've just withdrawn from life out of fear. We've stopped showing up to places where we might be seen. We've stopped saying yes to invitations because we're tired of going home alone afterward. We've shrunk our lives down to routines that feel safe but don't leave any room for the unexpected. And I'm not saying that to judge you. I understand why you might have done that. When you've been disappointed enough times, when you've put yourself out there and come back emptied, it makes sense that you'd want to protect yourself. But I want to gently ask you to consider whether protection has become prison. Because God often works through ordinary moments. He tends to arrange things in ways that look like coincidence to everyone except the person who's been praying. And if you've removed yourself from all the places where coincidence can happen, you might be making it harder for Him to move in your story. I'm not telling you to force anything. I'm not telling you to go out desperately searching for someone to complete you. But I am encouraging you to stay open, to keep living fully even in the waiting, to say yes to the coffee with a friend, the community group at church, the work event you'd normally skip. Not because that's where you'll definitely meet someone, but because that's where life happens. And God tends to show up in the middle of life, not on the sidelines. There's a verse in Ecclesiastes that talks about how time and chance happen to everyone. The writer is observing that so much of life is beyond our control. We can't manufacture the right moment. We can't force the right encounter. But we can be present for it when it comes. We can be awake enough, open enough, healed enough to recognize grace when it walks into the room. And that's really what I want to talk about next. The inner work that happens in seasons of waiting. Because the truth is, how you spend this time matters. Not because you have to earn love by becoming perfect, but because this season is forming you. It's shaping the kind of partner you'll be. It's teaching you things about yourself that you might never learn if someone else were distracting you from the work. I've seen people rush into relationships because they couldn't stand being alone. And I've watched those same people bring all their unhealed wounds into something that was never meant to carry that weight. The relationship crumbles, and they end up more broken than before, now with someone else's pain added to their own. I don't want that for you. I want you to enter your next relationship as someone who has done the hard work of knowing yourself. Someone who has sat with their own pain long enough to understand where it comes from. Someone who has forgiven what needed forgiving, including yourself. Someone who has learned how to be whole on their own, not because they don't need anyone, but because they know the difference between needing someone and wanting someone. That's the healthiest kind of love. Two people who don't complete each other, but who walk alongside each other, already complete in God. And that kind of love is worth waiting for. It's worth the extra years. It's worth the lonely nights. It's worth the prayers that feel like they're hitting the ceiling. Because when it finally comes, you'll be ready for it. You won't sabotage it with fear. You won't suffocate it with desperation. You'll be able to receive it with open hands, because your hands won't be clenched around the wounds of the past anymore. Let me speak to those wounds for a moment. Some of you have been through things in relationships that left marks nobody else can see. You were told you weren't enough by someone who never deserved you in the first place. You gave yourself to someone who treated your love like it was small, ordinary, disposable. You trusted someone who lied, who betrayed you, who made you feel like a fool for believing in something pure. And now part of you is afraid to hope again. Part of you thinks that maybe the problem is you, that maybe something about you invites mistreatment, that maybe you just have bad taste, that maybe you're destined to keep repeating the same mistakes. I want to tell you something, and I want you to really hear it. What happened to you was not a verdict on your worth. It was not God telling you that you don't deserve love. It was the fruit of living in a world where people sometimes hurt each other, where broken people do broken things, where not everyone who says they love you has learned what love actually means. Their failure to love you well does not mean you are unlovable. Their inability to see your value does not mean you have none. You were fearfully and wonderfully made, and that hasn't changed just because someone else couldn't see it. And here's the beautiful part. God is the God of redemption. He makes old things new. He takes what was wounded and heals it. He takes what was shattered and rebuilds it. He takes the broken pieces of your heart and puts them back together in ways that are somehow stronger than before. So don't let your past decide your future. Don't let the people who left convince you that no one will stay. Don't let the lies you believed back then become the truth you live by now. That chapter is over. You're writing a new one, and the author of your story isn't done yet. I also want to talk about the nature of how God brings people together, because I think we've been fed a lot of unrealistic expectations, and those expectations can actually make us miss what's right in front of us. We're told that love should feel like fireworks from the first moment, that the right person will sweep us off our feet and make everything immediately clear, that there will be signs, unmistakable and dramatic, like something out of a movie. But the truth is, real love often begins quietly. It grows slowly, like seeds in soil, invisible at first, but working beneath the surface. The person God has for you might not look like what you imagined. They might not fit the list you made in your head years ago. They might come into your life in ordinary ways, through work, through mutual friends, through a casual conversation you almost didn't have. And you might not feel fireworks right away. You might just feel peace, a sense of comfort you can't quite explain. A growing recognition that this person is safe, that they see you, that being around them makes you more yourself instead of less. That's love, the real kind, the kind that lasts. And I don't want you to miss it because you're waiting for something more dramatic. Sometimes God speaks in still, small voices, brings love the same way, gently, gradually, in ways that only make sense when you look back. If you're still with me, I want to take a moment to just pause. Not every moment needs to be filled with words. Not every silence needs to be broken. Right now, just breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Let whatever tension you've been carrying start to loosen. You don't have to figure everything out tonight. You don't have to have answers for questions that haven't even been asked yet. You can simply be here, in this moment, trusting that the one who holds your tomorrow is also holding you right now. That's what faith really is. Not knowing the outcome, but trusting the one who does. And you can rest in that. There's a passage in Matthew where Jesus tells his followers not to worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. He points to the birds of the air and the flowers of the field, reminding us that God takes care of things we never even think about. And if He cares for sparrows and lilies, how much more does He care for you? Your love life is not something God forgot about. It's not a detail He overlooked while handling more important matters. You are always on His mind. Your prayers are heard. Your tears are seen. And He is working, even when you can't feel it. I know it's hard to believe that sometimes. I know that when another year passes and nothing changes, it's easy to wonder if anyone's listening at all. I know that watching friends get engaged while you're still alone can make you question whether your turn is ever coming. But comparison is a thief. It will steal your peace faster than almost anything else. Because someone else's timing is not your timing. Someone else's path is not your path. And just because they received something before you, doesn't mean you won't receive it. At all. Your story has its own rhythm. And it's unfolding exactly as it's meant to. You don't need to rush God. He's never late. He's never early. He's simply always on time in ways that we don't understand until we're looking back. Let me share something with you about the city you live in. I don't know where you are right now. Maybe a big city with millions of people, maybe a smaller town where everyone knows everyone. But wherever you are, there's something beautiful about the idea that the person you've been praying for might be closer than you think. They might be driving the same roads you drive, shopping at the same grocery store, sitting in the same traffic, walking through the same neighborhoods, carrying their own quiet longings, wondering the same things you wonder. There's something almost sacred about that possibility, that God placed both of you in the same place at the same time. And one day, your paths will cross in a way that will make everything make sense. Now I want to be clear. I'm not promising you that this will happen. I'm not telling you that there's a guarantee, a timeline, or a specific outcome. That's not how faith works. Faith is trust without certainty. It's hope without proof. It's believing that God is good, even when life is hard. And the hope I'm offering you tonight isn't based on prediction. It's based on who God is. A God who loves you deeply. A God who hears the desires of your heart. A God who is able to do immeasurably more than we ask or imagine. Whether that means bringing you a partner tomorrow, next year, or 10 years from now, or walking with you in a different kind of life altogether, He will be with you. And that presence is enough. Not enough in a way that dismisses your longing, but enough in a way that carries you through it. I want to talk for a moment about preparation, not in a self-improvement, become perfect before you're worthy kind of way, but in a gentle, practical way. Because love, when it comes, will ask something of you. It will ask you to show up fully, to communicate honestly, to be vulnerable in ways that feel terrifying, to stay when it would be easier to leave, to forgive when you'd rather hold a grudge, to keep choosing someone every single day, even when the initial excitement fades. And the person you're becoming right now is the person who will walk into that relationship. So what kind of person do you want to become? What kind of partner do you want to be? If you know you struggle with communication, this is the time to learn. If you know you have a tendency to shut down during conflict, this is the time to address it. If you know you carry bitterness toward an ex, that still affects how you see relationships. This is the time to let it go. Not because you have to be perfect, but because the work you do now will bless the relationship you build later. And there's something empowering about taking responsibility for your own growth. It shifts you from passive waiting to active becoming. You're not just sitting around hoping someone will come. You're becoming the kind of person who is ready for what's coming. That's a different posture entirely, and it changes everything. I also want to speak to those of you who have been praying about this for a long time. Years, maybe. You know how to pray. You've claimed promises, declared scriptures, asked God for signs, and still, nothing has changed. The loneliness is still there. The questions are still unanswered. And part of you is starting to wonder if you're doing something wrong. If there's some secret you're missing, some key that would finally unlock the door. I want to gently tell you that prayer isn't a formula. It's not about finding the right words or the right level of faith. It's about relationship. And God hears you even when He doesn't answer the way you expect. Sometimes silence isn't rejection. It's an invitation to go deeper, to trust without understanding, to keep believing even when belief feels foolish. And I know that's not the answer you wanted. I know you wanted me to tell you that if you just pray harder, believe stronger, or confess more specifically, it will finally happen. Because God is not a vending machine. He's a father. And fathers don't always give their children what they ask for, even when the request is good. Sometimes they wait. Sometimes they redirect. Sometimes they say, "Not yet." And we have to trust that He sees more than we see, that His perspective includes things we can't account for, that His timing is shaped by wisdom we don't have access to. It's hard. I know it's hard. But this is what it means to walk by faith. Let me shift now to something practical. In the midst of all this spiritual reflection, there are some everyday things you can do that might help you stay grounded. First, guard your heart against despair. It's easy to spiral into hopelessness, especially late at night, especially when you're scrolling through social media and everyone else seems happy. But despair is a lie. Change. It tells you that your situation is permanent. It tells you that God has forgotten you. And none of that is true. So when despair comes knocking, recognize it for what it is. Don't entertain it. Don't give it a seat at the table. Push back with truth, with scripture, with reminders of God's faithfulness in the past. Second, stay connected to community. Loneliness thrives in isolation. When you pull away from people, you give your pain space to grow. But when you stay connected to friends, to church, to family, you remind yourself that you are not alone, even if you don't yet have a partner. Third, live a life worth living. Don't put everything on hold until someone shows up. Travel if you want to travel. Pursue the hobbies that bring you joy. Build the career you're passionate about. Make your life full now, because a full life is attractive. Trying to attract someone, but because fullness brings its own kind of joy. And when someone does enter your story, they'll be stepping into something beautiful, not trying to save you from emptiness. Fourth, practice gratitude. I know that might sound cliché, but it genuinely works. When you regularly thank God for what you do have, you train your heart to see abundance instead of lack. And that perspective shift can change how you experience every day. The loneliness might still be there, but it won't be the only thing you see anymore. And now, before I close, I want to offer one more thought. There's a phrase that gets used a lot in Christian circles: God's timing is perfect. And while that's true, I think it sometimes gets used in a way that dismisses people's pain. Like, your heart is aching, but someone just says God's timing is perfect and expects you to immediately feel better. That's not helpful. I want to add something to it. God's timing is perfect, and your pain is real. Both of those can be true at the same time. You don't have to pretend you're not hurting in order to have faith. You don't have to suppress your longing in order to trust God. You can bring all of it, the ache, the frustration, the confusion, right to Him. He can handle it. The Psalms are full of people crying out to God in raw, unfiltered ways. They ask hard questions. They express doubt. They demand answers. And God didn't reject them for it. He met them where they were, and He'll meet you too. So don't hide your heart from Him. Let Him see it. Let Him hold it. And trust that even in the waiting, He is close. He is near to the brokenhearted. He saves those who are crushed in spirit. And He is with you tonight. If this message has spoken to you, if something in these words has met you where you are, I want to encourage you to take a moment and just sit with it. Don't rush to the next video. Don't immediately scroll to something else. Let what's true sink in. Let it take root. And if you'd like to join others who are walking this path of faith, who are learning to trust God in the waiting, consider subscribing to the Angelic Lights channel. Not because I'm promising you anything, but because sometimes it helps to have a voice reminding you of what's true when your own mind starts to forget. You are not alone in this journey. There are others out there, just like you, carrying the same hopes, asking the same questions, and learning to believe even when it's hard. And that shared experience can be a source of comfort, knowing that someone else understands, knowing that your prayers are echoed by thousands, knowing that God is moving in the lives of people all over the world in ways we can't see but choose to trust. Before I leave you, I want to pray. Not a formal prayer, just an honest one. God, I don't know who's listening to this tonight, but You do. You know their names, their faces, their stories. You know what they've been through and what they're longing for. I ask that You meet them exactly where they are. Wrap them in Your peace. Remind them that they are loved, not just someday by someone, but right now by You. Give them patience without despair, hope without presumption, faith without answers. And if it's Your will, bring them the love their hearts have been longing for. But regardless, help them know that You are enough, that You are good, and that You are with them always. Amen. Now I want to close with one final image. Imagine yourself a year from now. You don't know what that year will bring, but imagine that you spent it becoming more whole, more healed, more yourself. Imagine that you kept showing up, kept trusting, kept living fully even in the waiting. And imagine that somewhere along the way, things began to shift. Not dramatically at first. Maybe just a glance across a room that lingered a second longer than usual. A conversation that left you thinking about someone hours after it ended. A quiet sense that something was changing, even if you couldn't name it yet. That future is possible. Not because I'm promising it, but because God is still writing your story. And He's not done. He's never done. So hold on to hope. Keep your heart open, stay rooted in faith, and trust that the One who began a good work in you will carry it through to completion. You're going to be okay. More than okay. You're going to look back on this season and see it differently. You're going to understand things you can't understand now. And you're going to be grateful, not just for what came, but for who you became while you were waiting. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your heart. If these words have encouraged you, feel free to leave a comment below. Not for me, but for the next person who watches this and needs to know they're not alone. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if you know someone who's walking through a similar season, share this with them. Sometimes the most meaningful ministry happens not in grand gestures, but in a simple text that says, "I thought of you." Until next time, may you walk in peace. May you rest in God's love. and may you trust that the best is still ahead.